Dang, man, so how much is that worth for you today?
I could sell it for between $1.25 million and $1.3 million.
Now, me and my YouTube buddy Robuilt accidentally worked ourselves out of our careers and became millionaires. Accidental in the sense that it was not necessarily planned and it came suddenly to the both of us. Now, Robuilt quit his job just last year and I quit mine about 10 years ago. I'm slightly older, if you haven't guessed yet Asians don't raise it. Until we're super old and then we get Granny Willow ancient looking. But Robuilt and I both had one thing in mind. We wanted to be financially free with a 7-figure plus net worth, and most of all, we wanted to live without a 9-to-5 job. No boss, no salary, just investments. And it sounded impossible. And this is how it usually goes. Dude, we just cleared another 300,000. Whoa! What? 300,000 again? We're millionaires, bro! Okay, it wasn't exactly like that. It was actually really tough for the both of us in the beginning until we stumbled into a way of achieving the impossible by getting obsessed with real estate. We realized in our career positions, real estate was the only way to go against the 1,000 years of history where people had to work for somebody for a living. Well, except maybe the emperors, but we're no emperors. But I do have emperor-like threads today thanks to Spoke Clothing. No, they're not a sponsor of today's video, but just wanted to give them a quick shout out since they keep sending me sweet custom fitted stuff like this. They've got that sophisticated London feel and they ship here to the States in literally, I think it was like 3 or 4 days for me to get my shirts. Customer service and return policy is top notch, and if you're looking for a great gift idea for yourself or your bro, check them out and get 20% off with my link down below. And just a heads up, we had a killer first cohort in the Land Hacker program that just wrapped up last month. We've got students from around the world starting and actually working on their first and second land hacking properties as of right now. Now I'm digesting, taking in all the feedback, and working on improving the next cohort, Land Hacker 2.0, which will be a 6-week program that I'll be launching later this winter, right after the holidays. Seats are limited for enrollment and I am taking applications to join the master program. So go to my website, kaiandrew.com, and get on the wait list and you'll hear more from me just before it launches. All right, first of all, who really is Robuilt? Now, Robuilt's real name is Robert Abasalo, and he's a kick-ass entrepreneur and YouTube content creator. Me and Robert have a lot in common. We're both sons of immigrant parents. We grew up in fairly poor background, and we both wanted to stay away from a traditional 9-to-5 way of earning a living.
Kai, you are the greatest real estate entrepreneur that's ever existed, my friend, and I want to be you.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. So we both had a similar plan. Start off with a 5-figure income. I think we were both around $50,000 to $60,000, and then climb up to 6 figures. Okay, but once we get there, how do we get to 7 figures? Well, that's where generating actual wealth and equity from a piece of property comes in play, and not just by renting it out. But first, I asked Robert if he views equity as a major strategy in his house and land hacking models today.
100%, and as I said at the beginning, cash flow is important to me, and then equity was like, who cares about that? That's like a future Robert thing, right? But now it's 100% flipped because I make great income now. Like I make great cash flow, way more than I'll ever spend on a monthly basis. So money matters less to me now than it did, 4 years ago. Now I'm entirely focused on equity because, I would like to say that I'm a little bit wiser. And so for me, I'm like, all right, now I got to start thinking about my kids and retirement at 65. And so for me, now I'm really focused on bumping up the net worth because that's ultimately what's going to matter a few years down the road.
And then I dug a little deeper into Robert's LA property, more specifically how much equity and cash flow he has created.
I bought that house for $624,000, and if you were to compare it to some of the sales in the area and people that have their houses listed right now, I could sell it for between $1.25 million and $1.3 million. So I would say that helps me sleep better at night, just knowing that if I lost everything tomorrow, the channel shut down, I could always sell my house and have $600,000 in the bank from the profits of that home.
And Robert, I know you have 3 doors on the property, the main house, the apartment below, and then the ADU. What's the gross rental income between those 3?
Gross is $8,800 a month.
Dude, that's pretty insane. And how much of that is profit?
Profit is about $4,000 a month.
So here you can see how Robert uses LA property to generate value, real value. And here's my current land hack project that you can see featured on my channel. You'll notice that there's a very common theme that's different from what the mainstream investors or real estate investors tell you about rentals. And in both scenarios, a significant amount of wealth is being created through equity and running our businesses from the property. Rental income was good, or is good, but not the focal point as we reach past the $1 million mark. And you can see how we both applied eerily similar strategies despite not knowing each other at this time. Maybe it's a weird YouTube content creator mind meld thing. And if you're liking how I'm breaking down the numbers so far, melt that like button and help boost this video to the top. But there are three main schools of thought when it comes to making money in real estate that are usually followed. And if you wait to the last one, you'll see how we actually opted for a fourth option. First option is flip homes. This is where you buy a beat up place, renovate it, and sell it at a higher price as fast as possible with as little money as possible invested. Problem with this is that it does require capital, usually cash, understanding of the construction process, and a high risk tolerance to be a sustainable income stream. The other issue with this is that you face hefty taxes from this type of income source too, because in the eyes of the IRS, because you're creating equity too quickly, it's taxed as ordinary income. Now, option two is that you buy a property, fix it up a little, and then rent it out to the long-term tenants, then increase that rent over time. Now, sure, this is a safe and steady option, or safer, I should say, but the problem is that it's pretty slow, and that's because what we're taught is not what actually works. Long-term tenants can be a real pain in the butt, and I can tell you that because I'm going through an eviction process right now with one of my tenants. And this option only makes a few hundred, maybe if you're lucky, several hundreds of dollars a month per door. Anyways, it can take forever. The homes are not that great, and that's why we both avoid it these days. So because I didn't want to wait to hit seven figures when I reached 85 years old, I started contemplating option number two, and that's when a little thing called Airbnb came around and changed the game forever. And this introduced option three, which is buy, lease, borrow, and build spaces and rent them out to vacationers.
Now that's the right option, right, Kai?
Wrong. It's better, but it's still not enough. It's like choosing the cone over the sundae. It's good, but you could be getting so much more. Now, don't get me wrong, short-term rentals are great. They're phenomenal. Robert, in one of his most recent videos, revealed that he makes like $25,000 plus a month from his properties this way. It's a very impressive amount of income to make for anybody, and you can go for it. I've done it as well in the past, but there's one major problem with this option, similar to option one of flipping. It is taxed very heavily. Like, I mean a lot. That's right, it's still seen as ordinary income and taxed at the highest level, which in our case is between 40 to 50%, depending on the state that you're in. So basically, we're No, we're not. The answer is actually pretty simple. It's not about flipping or renting your property out, whether it's short-term or long-term or whatever term. And as I've shown you with our example, it's about turning your property into a business or businesses. And those businesses generate massive amounts of equity, cash flows, and a place for you to actually conduct your business. And now we're talking about a whole different story. Let me show you the formula that we used. And this is something that anybody can really do. If you're sub to either of our channels, you know we're both pretty simple dudes who did not start with that much. We don't blow our money on shoes, cars, jewelry, or lavish vacations. Maybe some clothes every once in a while. So it's not like you need gobs of money to get started. The formula. Building a business and generating equity is easier said than done, but it's really more intimidating than actually difficult. Now, when I say generate equity, I don't mean sit back and pray for the market to increase your property value. The four variables of the formula to a property is, okay, that boss sound is getting a little old, so that's the last one, I promise. So to build wealth off of a single property, it will require proper permits combined with constructing equity, adding multiple income streams, mostly rent in our case, and then running a business from that property. Simply boiled down, this allows you to focus on one place to create tons of value, aka money, and then maximize tax advantages, aka working with the CPA. Now, in our situation, we both pulled permits, built or remodeled multiple doors that generated rental income. I personally started a bamboo farm as well, and then we both started and ran our businesses and content creation out of our properties. This significantly increased our net worth and allowed us to replace multiples of our normal income through equity creation. Now, I know you may not be a content creator, property manager, or consultant, but you may be a counselor, yoga instructor, teacher, or have a multitude of other skills that can make you money from a property with a home and acreage. Now, I personally like to call my property the headquarters because it's where I'm able to run my operations and expand all aspects of my business and my life. Again, this is a lifestyle type of business. Now listen to me and forget the preaching for which money in real estate comes only from rentals, because it really doesn't. Even commercial multifamily investors and entrepreneurs know this. They focus on the value from their net profits. This is also known as cap rate in the industry, and this is how multifamily dwellings like quadplexes or a 400-door apartment building are valued. The focus is not so much on collecting rental income, but on how to increase the value of the business and the property itself, therefore generating equity. But why do people want to do this? And what's wrong with sticking to that good old full benefits, good salary job? If you like it, especially if you like it. Well, money is usually the answer. It's not only that though. We do it because the most valuable thing in our lives is time. Time and freedom to do or not do what you want. And my clients and students, when they come to me for advice, that's why they're willing to quit their day jobs and start their businesses or invest in properties. They want access to more of their time. So let's break it down. First, get permits. I know. Getting permits can be challenging and a bit intimidating, but what many people don't know is that the harder it is to get permits, the more it becomes valuable over time. I made a video last year on how I made $250,000 in under a week by doing exactly this. Found a piece of land that was considered to be unbuildable due to landslide and land issues, so I bought it for $90K, called an engineer that found a solution to those issues, fixed it, and a little later, we were able to pull permits and the value shot back up to $330,000 plus. That's right, $240,000 difference. Now, that's part of what I call land hacking, and that's exactly what commercial developers do. And the good thing is, it's relatively easy when you know what to look for. It turns out that most people are lazy and don't want to dig into things, so getting permits is not always that hard. It's, again, just really more intimidating and a little bit more time consuming, more than anything else. Second, start working on that property. Expand it, remodel, build new stuff. Literally build equity at a lower price per square foot compared to market value. Then third, after that, you can start thinking about how much you can make through nightly, weekly, or monthly rental rates, and then other forms of income streams like a bamboo farm, or leasing out parts of the property, leasing out a shop or garage space. Then if you can truly use your land, property, or space to run another business, you'll be able to multiply your ability to make money. Voila. That's how we built our businesses and properties that broke into the 6 and even 7 figures. And that's how Robert and I generate most of our wealth these days. Now, if you don't know, Robert actually has more than just that property. 2 of his more popular ones are in Joshua Tree, California, and have actually made quite a splash on YouTube and Instagram. But I want to dig into them a little bit more and see how this equity and cash flow combo really works.
When I decided to do it again, I really started to think about like the value of my time and how feasible it would be for me to build 2.5 hours away. So I decided to fully contract Casa Conejo, my 303 square foot tiny home, and then Casa Mariposa, my 880 square foot small home. I contracted those out completely, and I'm really glad that I did. It ended up costing me like the same house that I built in my LA backyard was twice as much. It was $165,000, but it was so much nicer, professional grade, built by a professional contractor with a license and bonds and all that kind of stuff. So it was definitely worth it.
I then asked Robert how much that first home of his would be worth today if he decided to sell it.
If I were to list that today, I could probably list it for $350,000 and have several offers. I will say that someone did offer me $450,000 cash for that house. It was an investor who was like, hey, that house cash flow is great. Would you sell it for $450,000? I probably should have done it, just to be totally honest, but you know, I broke the number 1 rule of real estate and I got too attached to that house. You know, it has a lot of sentimental value for me.
And then I asked him the same about the second home that he built.
So that second house I actually built for $275,000, and I ended up actually selling it for $650,000 plus another $20,000 for all the furnishings. So by the end, after selling it for $670,000 total, it was about a $350,000 profit after all fees and commissions.
And then lastly, I asked Robert to share how much rental income he would make each year from those 3 properties if he hadn't sold one of those homes.
So if I had all 3 of those right now operating as short-term rentals, they would be making about $200,000 of profit every single year.
Okay, now I can tell you how we throw our money out the window. I'm just kidding. We don't. Not a lot. Although a nice vacation sounds really lovely right now, I really want to scope out New Zealand. Any Kiwis out there watching this channel, hit me up. And to be honest, guys, let me tell you this. The formula is not only about making money and getting financial freedom. It's about saving a lot of money in taxes. That's the true difference between people who get really wealthy and people who are just pursuing money, is understanding how to play and avoid taxes legally. Remember this? This is what we're taught, and this is what we do. If this was a game, you'd think that we were cheating, but we're not. And the effect is that taxes on this side are significantly less than on the other side. This is because of real estate appreciation, business income depreciation, coupled with some CPA magic. We have a ton of tax advantages. Remember, tax evasion is bad, tax avoidance is good. And it doesn't revolve around rental income. Rental income is great when you're first starting out, but the real value, the generational wealth, the FU money, is in the equity in the business. So opt for the formula. Sorry, I had to do it one last time. And folks, if you enjoyed or learned anything from this video, tap that like button below and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow with the algorithm gods. And if you do that, I've got some more free stuff for you. Go to my website, kaiandrew.com, and download the free guides and take a peek at that Land Hacker program and join the waitlist for the next launch. Go scope out some nice threads from Spoke Clothing. Love you all. See you in the next video. Kai out. All right, Robert, last words of wisdom here for our viewers. What do you got?
You know, you can watch all of the different YouTube videos, you can take programs, you can read all the books, you can study so much, but you're never actually gonna learn until you do it. You know, for me, I always equate kind of learning is this, like when you go to college and let's say you want to do accounting or whatever, it doesn't matter. Let's say you go to college and you take, you know, your program work for 4 years, you're going to learn so much, but then you're going to start your real world job and you're going to learn so much more in the first 6 months of that job than you ever did in college because you're applying all those things in college to like the real world. And so real estate is the same way. You can study, you can watch all the YouTube videos, you can read all the articles and blogs out there, but until you actually do it, like you'll never truly understand all that stuff that you studied. So it's very easy to get wrapped up in analysis paralysis, in the research. I would say if you've spent a couple months researching, if you've watched all the YouTube videos, stop doing that. It's only it's gonna prolong you from ever making a decision. You gotta figure out how to get into your first deal, whether that's you working for free, whether you're taking a loan from someone in your network, or whatever that way is. Like you have to figure out how to get into your first deal because that is true school that will shape the rest of your real estate career. Kai, you are the best man. No, hold on, let me do that again. Wait, is this like, what is the context of this? Because how jokey, am I supposed to be for real or joking?